Welcome back. Let's talk about what the dailies are leading with. This Nigeria is where we're going to first. Well, it leads with two major stories. Our guest is already seated with us to ensure that it does justice to this conversation as far as analyzing the papers are concerned. Mr. Deyemi Saka is a public affairs analyst. He joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Saka, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's nice to be here.
All right, so let's get straight to business. Spoiled for choice, that's the language we like to use here. So let's go to whatever it is our hands can be laid on. This Nigeria is the one I started with. FG dismisses 8.8 trillion naira shadow budget allocation, calls criticism inaccurate, misleading, and conjectural. And then there's a story about stop fresh killings and face action. Nigeria won South Africa. But let's talk about this one. So first, when I saw the response of the Honorable Minister of the Economy and Coordinating Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, first, I like the fact that it was a very civil response.
Yeah.
Yes, that's how to respond to who is checking on you. But what do you make of it?
Yeah, I'll probably want to align, not probably, I'm definitely going to align with the Minister of Finance and is it a coordinating Minister for Economy and what have you? Because you cannot make such allegations without giving us, facts, details. It was a generic accusation, said Nigeria spends, the federal government spends this amount of money outside budgetary allocation on some project. Which projects? You didn't tell us the project, you didn't tell us the exact project, which location, because like the minister said, in line with section 82 to 83, 80 to 83 of the Constitution that deals with public revenue, a breach of the Electoral the Appropriation Act is impeachable. You can't spend a dime outside appropriation. So now the question is, I even saw the statement of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. I read through and I was looking for specifics, and it's not there. You cannot just add fuel to the burning fire. It's like you just want to set the country up, or set the people up against ride them up against the government, and it's unfair. You should respect our sovereignty as a nation. You should respect how we do things. You didn't tell us. Yes, the budget is an open document for everybody to access, but you don't just do that. It's unfair, it's insincere, and it's bad. And I think the government should go further. I think they should demand a retraction from the organization. I'm serious.
From with IMF?
Yes, this is the Nigerian office that made the statement. You should tell us where you're coming from, what you saw, and how you came about the allegations or your position. The government
is not debating IMF's position. So let's be clear on what the government is talking about. The government is debating. Well, the government did not respond to the IMF. The government actually was responding to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's understanding of IMF's position, which IMF has said is statistical discrepancy. That's at the time they were perhaps collating their result. These are the discrepancies they saw that they will need some explainers. I'll read some things to you. I didn't want to go to the details. So they will say things like, an estimated statistical discrepancy of 2.7% GDP could reflect spending not captured. Those were the words, not captured by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. And they went on to say the January 2026 Repeal and Reenactment Bill for 2024-2025 budget incorporated an ex-post and some expenditure had been executed outside the budgets. Financing came from Eurobonds and they listed. So what was the minister's response to those particular lines? Because I needed, for the purpose of education, so that people understand this before they weigh in. The minister said, the IMF's observation relates primarily, which is important, to the comprehensiveness, timing, and presentation of fiscal reporting rather than the legality of the expenditure. So they were referencing first-line charges, statutory transfers, and all of those times. So there is a reporting system, and the timing of those reporting system and how comprehensive those reporting system, which the IMF said was not done, which the government has not objected that it was not done, but they said some reenactments were done to repeal and reenact.
Like violence of the budget.
Not necessarily violence.
But for me, when I read it, I was, like I insist, I'm talking as a patriot. Because I feel.
No, but this is economic data.
I know.
So
I'm taking as a fact is fact, you know, and they have their metrics in measuring and analyzing things. But you know, when you start talking about, yes, it gives clear understanding where they're coming from. But so the way the news was pushed, especially by the opposition, like you pointed out, it made it look as if there was an infraction of the Appropriation Act, and that was I was asking for specifics. And that's why I stand on it. Like, we shouldn't just, eat up the polity with statements or probably exaggerating or misrepresenting facts. That's where I'm coming from.
Well, I'm not going to, but I'm just saying facts are facts.
Facts are facts. And I said facts.
So the import, I had to read the very import of this conversation.
Well, I think there's this allegation about the non-implementation of Appropriation Act since 2024. We keep rolling it over. We don't know which budgets we're running at all. Overlapping. And I think the presidency and this administration has to find a way to resolve this. It's actually imposed on investors' confidence as well. Because you don't know where you don't know what is for what, when to invest, or where to pull out your investment, or where to divert your investment.
Yes, I mean, let's leave that and go to the Vanguard, because it also leads with another interesting rider this morning. PFIPC controversy: how SGF's office cleared Adeyemi for Canada summit. Troubling pattern of scandals, now too frequent. Article says presidency can't escape accountability over Gbajabiamila claims. PDP Serap also asking Akpabio Abbas to explain 1.3 billion naira allocation to fictitious the PFIPC. We have left one alleged corruption scandal to perhaps another one. I'm not sure how Adeyemi has all of the guts and effrontery, but it looks like, because he granted another media chat, or had an interface with the media recently, I think over the weekend, and he was still insisting and saying, look, if this indeed was not created by the government, how come it went through the CBN's office with 4 directors and over how many staff in it? Where do you think Adeyemi is getting his backing from? Because the SGF, allegedly, or the SGF's office cleared Adeyemi for a particular summit in Canada.
You see, I think this is probably mismanaged, and I'm probably going to blame the presidency for one thing. It's like, I have to put it in a better way so I don't sound so vulgar. 2 fighting, I have 2 kids fighting, and they come to you as a father, reported the matter to you, and you dealt with one, or you're showing that you're ready to deal with one, and you're showing that you're ready to shield one. There's an allegation and counter-allegation, and I think both of them should be seen, or should be pushed forward or put forward for punishment. Now, the presidency would have made a lot of sense to someone like me if you are accusing, or probably saying you want to take up Prince Adeyemi Matthew, for overbearing, for misconduct, overbearing actions and activities, exuberating actions. You come up with how could you 135 bank accounts, things like that will still make sense. But to just say the agency is fictitious, how did he get an office in the Federal Secretariat? It's not a shopping mall where you can just go pay rent and get an office there. That is one. How did he get security details attached to him as escorts? That's what you should look at. He had photo ops with the EFCC chairman at some point. They had held
international meetings
with foreign nationals and organizations and what have you. If you're taking him for overlapping his functions and probably imposing on the functions of the National Export Promotional Council, that will stand. If you're taking him for financial misconduct, is not in line with the TSC, that makes a lot of sense. If you are saying yes, because another thing we should look at is this: money could change hands in terms when it comes to seeking appointments and getting people appointments and what have you, because we have not accepted lobbying as a culture or as a profession in Nigeria. Not necessarily that the office holder is going to tell you go and collect money, but some people monetize their assets. I have access to this person. And if the person's CV is impressive, the person in a public office is probably acting on goodwill and good judgment, not knowing that you probably monetize and you've maximized your profit.
This one you're saying that we've not embraced lobbying.
No, I'm going to cite an instance.
Because if we are where we are right now in terms of allegations of corruption, by the time we accept lobbying as a culture in this country, then it means that...
No, by the time we bring lobbying, most of the things classified as corruption will no more be corruption. And that's the truth. In America, if I want to get a bill passed, I could go to a senator or probably someone in the committee, take on a vacation and his family, and that's not corruption. It's lobbying. I could make sure I want him to influence this and probably do things for his constituency. It's not corruption in America, it's lobbying. So by the time we bring lobbying and inculcate lobbying into our parties in Nigeria, most of the things we call corruption will no more be corruption. And it's just like when you make things common, open. It's when you put something on that ban or something that there's always the tendency people want to rush into it out of excitement. But when it's common, it's a common thing. There's nothing makes you spectacular or special if you go into it or go about it. So, for me, the presidency would have handled it better. Rather than shielding Gbajabiamila, it should have been suspended. And because it's also involved in this whole thing.
And the chief of staff.
Yes. And the deputy chief of staff in the presidency was. And you see, there are smart ways to go about things. It's from Bayo Onanuga's statement to, because how can you explain? And for somebody like us that has been studying the Appropriation Act since forever, I think what they do since I started studying is copy and paste. So when you just look at it, you'll be surprised that from 2012 to date, there's always a budgetary allocation to the president and the office of the vice president for sporting equipment and sporting activities. Have you seen any inter-department, inter-house sports at Asorok? It's a copy and pasting year in, year out. So the guy getting that amount of money might just be, okay, fine, it's been there for a while, let us put it there. The president might be insulated because you expect your chief of staff, your principal secretary, and everybody to have done their bit, the budget office to have done their bit, the executive, the Ministry of Finance, and the Appropriation Committee in both the House and Senate, all just need to sign. So if you're expecting the president to go line by line on the budgetary allocation to which office, to which MDAs, to which department, I think that is being delusional. Then one other thing this federal government statement or position is doing, or probably will end up doing to Nigerians. As an MD or power starter, if you're talking to any multinational, how are you going to show you're going to get the clearance and what have you? Because they're not sure of who is who. You want to, because even they're saying somebody they've met, because for this guy to meet with nationals now, or foreign nationals, those guys would have gone through their high commissions, or missions, or embassies. They've gone through the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe Nigeria, China, Nigeria, France, Nigeria, Canada to, authenticate and, validate the claims. And all these things, and now they'll be telling you that we are not even sure of Nigeria anymore. And the foreign investment drive we're pushing about this administration is, championing everything, or probably will be affected. Because it's only when you see Mr. President sit down across the table with you that you want to believe anything.
Okay, so that for clarity, so that our people will not misunderstand you, lobbying is okay, but there are thin lines between lobbying and not lobbying. Yeah. So first, lobbying is about persuasion, using talk to Congress members, make a case. But when you say carry family to travel, that's outside because there's a certain level of funding and bribery that the American government looks at.
And there's even a cap on what you spend on.
So there is a thin line. It's not something where
we probably have to draw the line.
Yes, a thin line. So when it involves things that border on what can be described as bribery, one way or the other, it becomes a problem. So that we're clear.
Yeah, we're clear.
I'm not trying to argue that lobbying is not a thing. I'm just saying that the extent to which you can lobby, if you carry somebody's family to go and do holiday and all of that, that will be looked at in a different light altogether. So, but let's stay with the Vanguard newspaper. I think that's what we're. Let's stay with that before we leave to other papers. And two issues that has to do with the election. First, just beneath that picture where we see I think that should be the governor of Ekiti, visiting persons at the hospital. U.S. to closely monitor 2027 polls. Congressman Riley Moore, he's been very popular in Nigeria since this whole genocide conversation. 2027 polls, parties rush to meet INEC's uploading deadline. That's a page 6 and also page 8 and page 9 read on the front page of the Vanguard. What do you make of those stories?
Sorry, please, how closer or closely or more closely do they want to monitor Nigeria's elections? They've always been doing that since 1999. I think a lot of people, and this is where I stand, you might not want to, you might disagree. I think the man's statement is a product of lobbying as well. And that's also because sometimes you look at the genocide claim. Yes, I believe, and I was not trying to take us back, trying to hit, anger people, but are Christians being killed in Nigeria? Yes. But are Muslims being killed in Nigeria as well? Yes. And because of the location, not because of the religion. Anybody that understands Nigeria will tell you that if there's a killing or if there's massive killings in Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, Taraba, the high probability that victims will be Christian is there. If people get killed in Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, even Ogun State, you'll be shocked. It tilts towards Muslims. So you probably feel that somebody just wanted to achieve something. And that's why I believe from the lobbies, from the genocide claims to these recent claims is a product of lobbying. And that's the truth. For me, my truth. Yeah. But they've been monitoring our elections since 1999. EU has been monitoring with the US. There are all foreign nations send election observers. So what's new? How closely are they going to send everybody to the 704 local governments in Nigeria? I'm waiting. Because even election monitoring in Nigeria, they pick key states, they distribute themselves to some units, and they write their reports. It's not as if they're everywhere all over the country.
They can't be everywhere, but perhaps is that not the reason why maybe we don't see some of the things that we used to see in the past in our elections? Don't you think maybe these foreign eyes, the fact that sometimes they threaten politicians with visa ban and all of that. Maybe that's why it's perhaps...
No, I don't think so.
Maybe it's perhaps why we are where we are today. If we don't have some of those kind of threats...
it's not where we are today. It's the demonstration of the political will at some point might not be enough to think, refine our electoral system. And that is why if you want to have... It was in this country we had option A for in 1993 without technology. And everybody keeps beating their chest saying that was fair and fair. And you now ask yourself, with the import of technology into our electoral system, we're having these claims, counter claims. It's the conduct of our politicians that mess up our polity. If they are decent, responsible with the game or how they play the game, our electoral system will be clean. So it's not about the threats of visa ban, or if you tell me not to come to America, I can as well go to another country that wants me. America is not heaven.
Well, it's not as simplistic as you're talking about
because there was a time we had a ban, a sanction from US, and the commander-in-chief then felt we could look elsewhere. And yes, it could be tough, but we didn't crumble as a nation.
You don't want to. I don't like colonialism or some of these things. So, but however, it's a global village now. There are things that we need the West for. There are things that the West
need each other.
So you have to be very careful how you behave yourself. I'm not saying they are perfect, but you also have to be very careful, because remember, especially when it comes to a warfare, we don't manufacture these things. So when we need to prosecute our war, these are the people you lean on. And when they don't give you what you need, you suffer for a while.
Defense industry because your defense industry or purchase defines your foreign policy. You have to be careful where you buy from or where you don't buy from. But if US doesn't want to sell to me, I probably want to go to Russia or Brazil or probably.
I'm telling you, it's not as simplistic as you're saying.
But there are some things you can, anything close to Apache or what have you, or close to civil engineering, or can I say trademark by US? Even if you're not buying for them, you can't do a third-party purchase. We know that.
So there are things that are not as simple. I don't want to go, because it's security, I don't want to go to details. But let's go to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper's US IPO drives tests Nigerian Fintech's governance compliance strength. So if we read through that story, it says that Nigeria's Fintechs may be under pressure to address corporate governance questions, poor corporate disclosure, and weak internal control before transitioning into global brands and maintain a mainstream market. Market insights suggest poor governance could undermine the huge prospect of turning fintechs into mainstream banking and global brands. Ambitions, many of them are currently pushing aggressively. So this is, for me, it's more like how these guys in the West build transgenerational companies that outlive them, who started
the founders and everything,
than what we do here. So I think this is a good move.
It's a very good one. It's okay, let's take an instance. There was a fintech company that sponsored a reality show with huge amounts of funds, and the following year was going under. It talks about the corporate governance as well. It speaks to the accountability. It speaks to, because I think in Africa and in Nigeria, except few persons that have divorced themselves from or been able to separate their identity from the company and organizations they founded. So oftentimes you find these people still believing, seeing these as it's my thing. They can always dip their hands into the funds of the corporation or the company or organization, thinking it's their money. You know, because you ask yourself, a lot of fintech startups get these grants and what have you. They run at they start the race, you know, at a very top speed, and 4-5 years down the line, they bankrupt. And I think it's a nice. I'm so much in love with this, and I believe. And you think you expect the Ministry of Finance, the CBN at some point, and the CBN to probably come out with stringent policies as well. Almost when it comes to fintech.
Yeah, the central bank, they're trying. In some part. The central bank is not joking. So, Cardoso is not coming to play with anybody.
Absolutely. Still with the Guardian, another story that gets my attention. Chief of Army Staff assures ongoing operation to rescue Oyo abductees. Since May 15, in 9 days, it will be 2 months since 37 pupils, I think teachers, were kidnapped or taken to an unknown location. When the Chief of Army Staff says operation or rescue operation is ongoing, I'm not sure exactly what he means. But imagine the rains, the weather conditions when you're kidnapped. I don't wish that for any of my enemies. You cannot eat what you would love to eat. You cannot drink the kind of water you would love to drink. But pupils have been subjected to all of this, mothers and teachers and all of that. I wonder if you think the Nigerian government is helpless.
No, the Nigerian government is not helpless. It's just being careful, because in any hostage crisis situation, the top priority is to get your people back to safety, if possible, all. So that's influence and dictates your actions and what have you. I have a lot to say about that, but I would not want to say, because it probably could.
Let's let Nigerians.
For us to have an understanding of where we're going to, we should have an understanding of where we're coming from. And in this instance, I probably want us to look at, if we probably do not identify the real perpetrators of these acts, we probably will be shooting blank. To some of us, we believe this is an action carried out by copycats, and they're finding a way to get out of it. You so probably want to go about it. I'm going to explain that. You probably want to be that. It gives you a reminder of the 1996 coup of late General Dia, where there was a plot within a plot. So some of us still want to go further to believe that, yes, the copycats recruited the usual suspects, and the unusual suspects had a plot within the plot, and that is where we have. So it makes it, what I mean, the usual suspect, the bandits have been kidnapping for ransom and what have you, and the copycats are the criminal elements from that region, from that state, indigenous of those states collaborating with the usual suspect. That is one analysis to look at. The other one is this copycat just did it and they are in a fix. That is about that. I want to believe, because of my interface and because I've interacted at some point with, I know there are a lot of things going on to get these people back to safety. If anybody is coming here to tell you that you don't negotiate with terrorists or bandits, the person is probably in the 19th century. Even America don't negotiate with terrorists, but nobody will come out to accept. There's still going to be that public denial by the government, but your priority is to get people back to safety. And I think the life of every Nigerian worth every dollar and cent in our foreign reserve.
But why deny? Why deny if you're going to negotiate?
They are not negotiate. You see, let me say this. There's this approach of the kinetic and
because the government says, look, we know where these people are. I thought that, I mean, Oyo State is geographically one of the largest states as well in Nigeria. I thought maybe perhaps the terrain, because it's a large state, maybe they won't even know where they are. But they have come out to say we know where they are. So why is it a problem? Were the military not trained for this kind of situations?
You don't want to risk collateral damage or damages. What's the essence of getting full bridge and you probably get there and don't get your people out and everybody just come back in body bags? It's not the bandits that is holding government, frontal actions. It's the people, in captivity. And that's the truth.
My point is, was the police, was the army, were they not trained for this kind of situation?
That is why they are negotiating, because the training they have for this kind of situation is to have a negotiator in an hostage crisis situation. I'll give you an instance. Just 3 weeks after, there was a senator came out and said there was a woman selling beans and bread and was making sales and she didn't know what happened. In a village called Ponyo. Ponyo is between Ekiti and Kogi. A woman sells Nono. And she said she saw some guys came, 4 of them came and bought Nono worth of 15,000 naira. And what she did immediately was alerted the vigilante group in the community, and they went with the combined efforts of the vigilante group, the military and the police. They caught these guys, neutralized 6 of the 8 bandits, and rescued 2 hostages. What is key here is the human intelligence. The community is key. There was a time while I was in opposition, when I'm in opposition, strong opposition, criticizing anything government, I was part of the people that was saying when the insurgency lasts more than 24 hours, the government has
APC?
No, not APC. I said when I was against anything in government. Okay. Now I'm rational now. I believe everything, but I not said that Abacha would not. No one, Abacha never said that. And without blaming the victim, and this is not what I'm trying to do. If insecurity thrives and lasts more than 24 hours, 48 hours in the community, the people are complicit. Because if you don't harbor them, I go to Mina regularly, and I want to let you know that. From Mokwa to Mina, if you have a breakdown and you have a good worth of 200 million naira in your vehicle, once you lock it, come back 3 days time, you see it intact. Nobody will touch your car. But
what year was that?
Till tomorrow.
From Mokwa?
Yes, and I can't speak for Mokwa.
Niger State.
From Mokwa to Bida, I say this and I beat my chest and I say this with so much conviction and confidence. But you'll be shocked that Kanji, the other side of Mokwa, what have you, is being ravaged. So what? And they're both in Niger State. So we should. When they were terrorizing them along Ekole, Ekitintu, the Adaxis, Okeako, Ekpa, and everything, the major logistics supplier for the bandits in the Adaxis was somebody from that community in Aido.
All right, so, the responsibility, no matter how we look at it,
it falls on the government.
Yes, at the end of the day, because that is their primary responsibility. Of course, there is a collaborative effort that has to come in from community and all of that. But the signaling of government, the bigger problem some of us have raised is the fact that the ease of mass abduction is unacceptable. There's crime everywhere, but the ease of mass abduction in Nigeria is not acceptable.
We could probably go to that later, because the one thing is we are undermanned, without making excuse for the government. The combined strength of the Nigerian military is 343,000.
Whatever the issues are you going to blame me?
I'm not going to blame you. But we're going to blame the government. But people are not listening as well.
It's the signaling. So I remember there was an employment opportunity, I think in one of the southern states, where the army was complaining that people are not coming. And I saw people doing video online, which is sad for me as a patriot. to see. People are saying when there's CBN job, EFCC immigration, you don't come to shout that you're not. We won't even know. We won't even know it exists.
No, there's no always room for it. There's no employment opportunities in those places, though.
And it's
always filled.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The people are saying when it's CBN immigration, you know all these ones that people classify in a certain way. Nobody hears, but when it's time for army and police, you want us to come and join. So the government needs to do something to bring confidence back for the people to love their country enough to say, maybe I can go this part. But let's go to the Abuja Inquirer. It leads with literally everything, but let's look at one story on page 14, where NAFDAC raises alarm over unsafe food, pushes nationwide safety reforms. I think I like this.
No, there was a time I went into I went to a store, one popular, retail store in Nigeria, and I bought something, and I just checked the expiry date, and the shelf life of the product was just like a month or two. A lot of us, without blaming us now, just assume or we just believe that once we walk into these retail outlets or this thing, everything we are buying there is safe. The value chain of the food security in Nigeria is something else. You look at a lot of people misapply or wrongly apply preservatives or what have you, herbicide or pesticides on the farm. That's even the beginning. They get to the storage facility, to combat weevil and other things, they use all sorts of chemicals. And some people, because they just want to get back to the market or sell this thing on time, they come up with all kind of things to just, fast track the ripening of products. And, you can't just be too careful in Nigeria when it comes to food security, because you don't know what you're eating. You probably want to buy. That's why some people advise when you get home, when you buy these things, just go home, wash it your own way, because you probably want to buy oranges or something from a guy selling those things on a wheelbarrow. Obviously, you should go wash it. But because some of us are so much in a hurry, you just help me peel it, you don't even know. So it's scary. If you can just imagine, it's better imagined. Because if you just want to sit down, ponder, and be careful, you probably will not want to eat anything apart from what you grow or cultivate in your backyard. And that's the truth.
Well, maybe in 15 seconds or 20 seconds, I wanted to speak to the story around xenophobia, still staying with the Abuja Inquirer. Maybe in 15 seconds or less, just quickly do that for us so we can wrap up with this session, where again we see that 2 Nigerians were confirmed dead over the weekend, and it's a big challenge. I
think the federal government is doing its better when it comes to that. But I laugh at South Africa.
You say the government is doing it?
No, because you look at South Africa as a sovereign state. There's a limit to how much you could have boots on ground to protect your people. The best you could do for them is let them get to your high commission if you have a functioning one there. But can it house Nigerians in South Africa? Because at some point, South Africa was like the next Lagos to Nigerians. So the huge population there, the logistic problem getting them back to safety, I can imagine how cumbersome that will be. But I say I laugh at South Africa because the first country that tried this under Idi Amin became a mess. The second country under Mugabe, it became a mess. Obviously, 5-6 years from now, the South African round will be nothing more than a piece of paper. And South Africa that is chasing people out will now be begging people to come to invest in their country.
Okay,
it's going to happen. They'll beg.
I don't want any African country to fall anyway.
But it's
African.
But I guess, but it's out there. You see,
it's a very sad tale.
Thunder has struck twice. This is the 3rd time. And in Uganda under Idi Amin, in Zimbabwe under Mugabe, and Ramaphosa, and because it's a lot of things. So some of us we probably want to say, yes, some of us believe in conspiracy theory. Maybe there's an internal influence trying to trigger this. Ramaphosa is unpopular, just like any time the guy in Israel becomes unpopular, he thinks of which country should I bomb. So Ramaphosa is unpopular, and that's why he's doing this. He's encouraging this as well.
Well, let's see how it goes. Big allegations. There, Mr. Akai is the public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll take a break. When we come back after this break, we'll get to that very contentious issue about the 8.8 or 2-point-something% of the GDP that the IMF had reported. Well, it is larger to Kopomoka that specifically noted 8.8 trillion. But the language of the IMF has to do with the recordings of that 2.2 or so% of the GDP that they talked about in the budget. Well, in case you're not clear on what all of this is all about, the next conversation will help you make sense of it. Stay with us.